Many people believe high blood pressure is simply a result of consuming too much salt and fluid. While it's not entirely inaccurate, it only scratches the surface of what's really happening inside the body. This incomplete understanding is why so many individuals follow their prescribed treatments, monitor their blood pressure regularly, and still end up facing devastating health events like strokes. They may believe their numbers are under control, yet the crisis strikes unexpectedly. How does that happen? It happens because current treatments focus on managing a reading, not addressing the underlying damage. Picture this scenario. Your car's check engine light comes on. Instead of taking it to the mechanic, you simply cut the wire connected to the light. The warning disappears. You drive off thinking everything is fine, but the engine is still malfunctioning, worsening over time without any indication. This is exactly what happens with most blood pressure medications. They may keep the reading under control, but the arterial damage continues unchecked. I don't share this analogy to alarm you or make you distrust your doctor. I'm sharing it because you're someone who seeks to understand what's really happening in your body, and you deserve to know the full truth. I'm Dr. Franklin, and for years I've studied preventive cardiology. I've watched patients do everything right, taking medications, following a low-sodium diet, and attending regular checkups, yet still experience steady health decline. The question that constantly drove me was, why? The answer I found through in-depth research revolves around three key mechanisms, three forces at the cellular level within your arteries, that standard treatments often overlook. These silent factors continue to worsen your condition, even if your numbers appear fine. Today, I'm going to explain all three. By the end of this video, you'll have a far better understanding of your cardiovascular system than most people, including medical professionals. Before we dive into the science, take a moment to introduce yourself. Let me know where you're watching from. I read every comment and would love to know who I'm helping today. Let's open the hood and explore the real cause of high blood pressure. High blood pressure, also known as hypertension, affects around half of Americans over 55, a staggering statistic when you think about it. We're not dealing with a rare condition here. Hypertension has become the default health state for a majority of aging adults in the U.S. The prevailing belief is that high blood pressure is caused by too much pressure, too much fluid, and too much sodium. The solution seems simple. Take medication, reduce salt intake, and maybe lose a little weight. While this theory holds some truth, it's dangerously incomplete. Let me share another analogy to help clarify things. Imagine an old garden hose that's been sitting out in the sun for years. It's brittle, stiff, cracked, and worn out. When you turn on the water, even normal water pressure causes the hose to strain. The joints crack, the connections leak, and the water pressure at the nozzle becomes uneven. Now, the question is the problem with the water pressure, or is the problem with the hose itself? This distinction is crucial in understanding hypertension. Most treatments focus on regulating the water pressure, i.e., the fluid volume and heart rate, but the real issue lies in the hose, the walls of your arteries. Over time, these walls lose their flexibility and their ability to handle blood flow diminishes. Three specific mechanisms are silently degrading the flexibility of your arteries as you age, and I'll explain each of them. Understanding these mechanisms will help you see why current treatments don't fully address the root causes of hypertension. Let's begin with something your doctor probably hasn't discussed with you: the vascular endothelium. This is the inner lining of every blood vessel in your body: the aorta, the coronary arteries, vessels in the brain, kidneys, legs, and more. Think of the endothelium as the riverbank of your circulatory system. Just like healthy riverbanks are protected by soil, vegetation, and roots, the endothelium has its own protective coating called the endothelial surface layer, ESL. The ESL is crucial because it acts as a biological sensor. It detects the flow of blood and sends a signal to the surrounding muscle cells in the vessel walls, instructing them to relax and expand. This signaling is mediated by nitric oxide, a tiny gas molecule that helps maintain vascular flexibility. When the endothelial surface layer is intact, your blood vessels can expand and contract, cushioning the impact of each heartbeat and protecting organs like the brain and kidneys from excessive pressure. However, over time, three factors gradually break down this protective layer. First, chronically elevated blood sugar, even in non-diabetic individuals, leads to a process called glycation, which is essentially the body's version of rusting. Sugar molecules attach to proteins, damaging them, including the ones that form the endothelial surface layer. Second, chronic low-grade inflammation, often caused by poor diet, metabolic imbalance, and insufficient sleep, continuously scrapes away at the lining of the vessels. Third, oxidative stress caused by free radicals, unstable molecules produced by pollution, stress, poor diet, and even normal aging, attacks the endothelial cells, further degrading the lining. As the endothelial surface layer deteriorates, two catastrophic things happen. 1. The blood vessels lose their ability to produce nitric oxide, and they become stiff and constricted. 2. The damaged vessel walls become vulnerable to the invasion of cholesterol, calcium, and inflammatory particles, leading to plaque buildup and arterial calcification. This is what turns once flexible arteries into stiff, fragile structures. Unfortunately, no standard blood pressure medication repairs the endothelial surface layer. Medications like lisinopril, amlodipine, or metoprolol focus on managing blood pressure, but they don't fix the underlying damage. The second mechanism I want to highlight is magnesium depletion, which is far more common than most people realize. A few years ago, I treated a patient named Robert, a 68-year-old retired engineer. Despite being on blood pressure medication for 6 years, Robert's blood pressure remained elevated at 158/96. He followed a clean diet, low in sodium, high in vegetables, and exercised regularly. But his blood pressure just wouldn't improve. I ran a blood test to check his magnesium levels, and the results were startling. Robert had a significant magnesium deficiency. Most people think of magnesium as just a supplement for sleep, but this mineral plays a crucial role in your cardiovascular health. Arteries are lined with smooth muscle cells, and magnesium is the key that unlocks these cells, allowing them to relax and expand. Without enough magnesium, these cells become stiff, leading to higher blood pressure. Magnesium depletion is a silent epidemic. Around 45% of Americans are magnesium deficient, and the problem intensifies with age. What makes magnesium deficiency particularly insidious is that many medications commonly prescribed to older adults, such as diuretics for high blood pressure and proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, deplete magnesium from the body. Even chronic stress and poor sleep can rapidly deplete magnesium, because the stress hormone cortisol increases magnesium excretion. Robert started taking magnesium glycinate, a highly absorbable form of magnesium, and within 10 weeks his blood pressure dropped to 138/84. This change occurred without him altering any other aspect of his lifestyle. If you've been struggling with high blood pressure despite doing everything right, magnesium deficiency may be one of the root causes. I'll dive into the specific dosages and forms in the protocol section, but first, let's look at the third mechanism. The third mechanism I want to discuss is the relationship between stress and hypertension. Modern medicine often dismisses the impact of chronic stress on blood pressure, urging patients to relax without offering concrete solutions. However, the link between psychological stress and high blood pressure is very real and scientifically documented. When your brain perceives stress, whether physical or emotional, it triggers the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis. This leads to the release of cortisol and adrenaline from the adrenal glands, causing your heart rate to rise and your blood vessels to constrict. This response is designed for short-term survival, but when stress becomes chronic, it turns into a permanent background state, continuously elevating your blood pressure. Cortisol does 3 major things that contribute to hypertension. First, it suppresses the production of nitric oxide, reducing the ability of your vessels to relax. Second, it promotes sodium retention in the kidneys, leading to increased fluid volume and, consequently, higher blood pressure. Third, cortisol accelerates the stiffening of arteries by promoting inflammation and degrading the elastic fibers in vessel walls. For older adults, the kind of stress that contributes to high blood pressure isn't always dramatic. It's the low-level anxiety of managing multiple health conditions, the loneliness of aging, or the grief after a loss. These chronic, often overlooked stresses are taking a toll on your cardiovascular system. Fortunately, there are evidence-based interventions to address this, and I'll walk you through them in the protocol section.